So, as you guys know, I have done a lot of Kingdom related character analysis videos, and we are back with one more. This one might very well be the most important. More important than Shin's video, because while he is the main character, Riboku feels like he's been the star of the manga for the last 16 years, ever since he was first introduced back in chapter 135 in the Battle of Boyu arc, which released on November 13th, 2008. It is now 2024. And somehow this guy is still fucking alive, when God knows this man should have died ages ago. But that's neither here nor there. Riboku obviously has a long history, one that makes me both have deep, profound respect for him because of his ideals and how strong he is, not only as a general but just as a man and person. But there are other times where I just hate this man so much just because of how he has no ego, no sense of self-worth at times, when that couldn't be further from the truth. No other character represents the moral landscape of the world of Kingdom as well as Riboku, the strongest of the three great heavens, as the sole reason the kingdom of Zhao is still standing, as well as the man who is considered the greatest opponent to King Sei's dream of unifying China underneath the banner of the state of Qin. Riboku, without any doubt, plays a quite unique role in the story, especially given the fact that he's one of the most respected members within the Zhao army, and Renpa proclaimed him the most dangerous man in all of China after defeating Oki, the last remaining member of Qin's first generation of greats. And yet, the two defining traits of his character, next to his kind-hearted and humble nature, are his strong sense of duty and his ruthlessness. And it is exactly this stark polarization of beliefs that make him such an interestingly tragic character. This is the story of China's once most feared citizen, Riboku, of Zhao's three great heavens. As of this point in the story, there are two feats Riboku is most known for: the defeat of Oki in the Battle of Boyu, as well as the person behind the orchestration of 5 out of the 7 states coming together to form a coalition army to wipe Qin off the map. Even though Riboku has enjoyed immense respect and special treatment within Zhao as well as other nations because of these feats, both of these events are largely glorified. As we now know, Oki actually knew about Riboku and his secret army hidden away, but chose to stay and fight anyways because of Hoken and the importance that Boyu played in Oki's past. And as for the coalition army, well, that just kinda speaks for itself. Imagine going through all the trouble of talking to enemy states and trying to get them to come under an alliance to form one big ass army to try and end Qin once and for all, and still lose. And it was a bad loss too. On every single battlefront, the coalition army was just taking straight L's, even losing some big time generals. Then Riboku tried to be a little rat and scurry away and head straight for Qin's capital, and still lost to a city filled with a bunch of old men way past their prime, women and children too. Absolutely embarrassing. That being said, although he is a never-ending plotting rat, we know he is strong. Shin has said that Riboku is no ordinary strategist, and has said numerous times how strong he is. We just don't know exactly how strong because this man is always hiding in the back, rarely ever getting himself involved in a fight, which makes it very hard to assess how strong he truly is. Since he was able to fight with and against some of the strongest beings in the world of Kingdom, however, and has gone out of his way to personally select the 2 remaining spots of Zhao's 3 great heavens after claiming 1 spot for himself, it's pretty safe to assume that Riboku is very much the real deal. From a storytelling perspective, Riboku actually has a quite unique character design. Or to put it in better terms, he doesn't seem to fit any traditional trope or category. He's not necessarily a villain. While he does oppose Qin and their conquests, I still find it difficult to label him as a villain because there are no heroes or villains in this manga. And an anti-hero also doesn't fit because he believes wholeheartedly he is morally right in what he is doing. He's not a mentor to Shin, that honor belongs to Oki, so where does that leave him? In the end, I believe that Riboku is several important supporting characters mashed into one. For example, He represents the old era of great generals from a military perspective. That includes legends like Renpa and Oki. He is a rival to the main character, balanced in such a way that Shin has both respect and admiration for Riboku, while still never getting so far as to outright hate him. Shin is still able to benefit from his never-ending battles with Riboku. It gives Shin true drive and lights a fire under him. Kind of ironic actually that Shin, who idolizes all the great generals before him, would end up considering one as his rival and ultimate end goal. The biggest role Riboku plays in the story, however, is that he stands opposed to Sei's dream of unification. Not because he outright disagrees with it, but because he believes unification built off mass murder and destruction and trampling upon others is no way to achieve such a lofty goal. As outlandish as this may sound, Riboku is a true pacifist. He would rather avoid conflict at all costs. That's why he wanted Sei to form an alliance with the other kings to form some sort of long-lasting peace. But after this man, who again is without a doubt a genius, got bodied in an argument by an 18-year-old, that idea was shut down rather quickly. For someone like Riboku, I'm sure living in the spring and autumn warring states period was truly hell on earth. A very talented individual who holds together an entire state, but to do so, he has to go against his own morals and kill and lie and betray and never stop being a ruthless person, because if he does, Zhao, his home and his people as he knows it will cease to exist. This also extends to Riboku and his little faction of followers. Riboku is always torn between duty and family, always looking for a way to balance them, not always successfully. In the end, all Riboku and his followers want is freedom and a just world. Freedom from stupid kings and freedom to be able to live in peace without the fear of war always in the back of their minds. The constant terror of the 6 other states always looming and looking for a chance to strike. This is also Riboku's greatest strength, as he represents the best that Zhao has to offer, and in turn, people are obviously drawn to him. His approach to war and justice is by far the most human and relatable. It's how he was able to form his faction of such strong and dependable allies. But for all his good, Riboku still has a whole other side to him, and this brings us back to the tragedy of Riboku's character. His inner divide between his love towards his family and duty towards his state that he believes is worth sacrificing everything for. We can see this divide very clearly in the fact that Riboku has a very interesting approach to dealing with enemies and allies alike, which is judging them based on their actions and their personality, as he is well aware of the dark system overshadowing the entire state of Zhao as well. We know this because the animosity between Riboku and those of higher power like the king and ministers is no secret. They both use and abuse each other, with both factions constantly keeping the other in check, both needing each other to stay alive. And therein lies Riboku's biggest character flaw, a flaw easily seen by everyone else besides him. Ozen was the first one to talk about his flaw, right in front of his face, in the middle of battle, surrounded by all the men he was in charge of at that. Chapter 607. Ozen explains how futile Riboku's resistance was. As we are already well aware of, Riboku is the sole person from keeping Zhao from collapsing. The meddling of those above him simply stops his efforts from bearing any real meaning. Riboku's reasoning for all his sacrifice is simply that it is his duty. He places duty above self-preservation, above friends and family, and above love. Then Kanki in chapter 751 goes even further to explain that he is not someone special and will continue to struggle until the bitter end. Kanki had won every single battle he's ever fought, all except for his last. Kanki was actually disappointed not in his defeat, but by who he was defeated by. To quote Kanki here, "A chump like you can't change anything, Riboku." Then Kanki goes on to explain the duality of Riboku and the king of Kin, Sei. Because there are people like Riboku, there is someone like Sei. And because there are people like Sei, people like Riboku will inevitably show up. They are fighting while pushing their own ideals and desires onto others. Unless they both cross swords with each other, only those beneath them will continue to spill blood. In layman's terms, basically all Kanki is saying is that Sei is someone who wants to change the world that they currently know. He is on a path of conquering all of China, which will forever be known in history, and he will be the one true king of China. Then there was Riboku, who wants to keep things constant. He is fighting to preserve the way things are, stopping this change that no doubt leads to an incomprehensible future and the destruction of everything they know. So until Sei, or someone who carries out his will, such as our main character Shin, crosses blades with Riboku, everything else is meaningless. And this is what is so tragic about Riboku. I feel like I've dissed Riboku a lot, but let's face it, Riboku is him. He is that guy. This is the man who brought down Oki, got Hoken to pretty much be a lackey to him, and has some of the most powerful individuals under his command, and had close to equal power as the former king, and more so than the current king. He is the strongest of Zhao's three great heavens and their leader. Even with all of that, the man who took down Oki is the same man who wound up in a prison cell. The same man who carries all of Zhao on his shoulders is the same man who has to go to other people. People who want nothing to do with his war and beg for their help while also staying hidden in the back and letting others fight his battle. Riboku has shown his abilities countless times, over and over again, but his unwillingness to do the right thing, by that I mean get rid of the king and those who hold more power and meddle in his affairs, when all is said and done, and Shin, and by extension Sei, clash against Riboku one final time, and Zhao inevitably falls, there will be no one to blame but Riboku. What I want you to take away from this video are these two simple points. The first point being, Riboku is strong and has rightfully earned all the praise and hype. I know sometimes it feels like Hada is constantly throwing Riboku down our throat and is constantly trying to justify him being the strongest general in the current timeline. Never mind, every time we see him it always feels like he has the advantage, and even then just barely getting the win or getting away by the skin of his teeth. But making no mistake, this man is a pimp. He walked into enemy territory just to gauge what kind of person King Sei is, and then as he is leaving, he proclaims that even if they were to send all of Qin's generals at him simultaneously, they would still be no match for him, and that it shall be Qin that falls in this war. The only thing that was protecting Riboku at that moment was just the fear that if Qin killed him right then and there, the people of Zhao would never allow themselves to be governed by them. So yeah, kind of a pimp move. His aura in that moment was definitely over 9,000. You don't do that unless you're the baddest motherfucker walking the planet. He is very much aware of the power and stature he possesses. The second point to remember, and by far the most important, is that it is perfectly okay if you do not like Riboku as a character. I am not blind to Riboku's hypocrisy. He proclaims to be a pacifist and dreams of peace, but then he asks a city that has actually secured peace to go to war and risk everything they have obtained so far just for his own selfish reasons. But the reason I think ultimately plays the biggest role in his downfall is due to poor writing. Not necessarily character writing, but more so has to do with the state of Zhao as a whole. Riboku is written to represent the military might of Zhao, like Oki was for Qin, before and during the Boyu arc. Riboku is almost always the only reason for Zhao gaining any advantage in a battle with Qin, and every newly introduced Zhao general is hyped up by association with Riboku in some way. And as Zhao gets humiliated in every single battle, people attribute those failures to Riboku. In fact, Hada wrote himself into a corner because he's forced to comply with historical outcomes of battles, and he's unwilling to portray Qin as anything but an underdog. Plus, he's overused Riboku to portray Zhao's strength, and readers really no longer believe it. So yeah, there are more than enough reasons to dislike Riboku, and if you're one of them, it is perfectly okay, because I feel that way. Trust me, I do. But at the same time, game recognizes game. Alright, before we close out on another Kingdom character analysis video, I do actually want to apologize to you guys real quickly, as I know this video came out way too damn late. These past 2 months or so, I've dealt with a family member's health, and 2 weeks ago she sadly passed away. So yes, as you can imagine, my focus has been shifted to my family and not really much else. And I'm telling you guys this not because I want sympathy or something. Trust me, that is the last thing I want, is for you guys to feel bad for me. I just want to let you guys know because I am fully committed to uploading more videos. I have 5,000 subscribers now, which again, thank you. That's fucking insane. 5,000 people decided to click subscribe because they, I don't know, for some reason like my videos. And I do not take that lightly. But life does get in the way. If I had it my way, I would be uploading at least once a week, and that is ultimately the goal. But yes, until then, I just want to say thank you for all the support you guys have shown me so far, as it truly does mean a lot. And with that being said, I will stop rambling, and I will see you guys next time.